he's not clueless. He's actually smarter than people give credit. He put it on Instagram because he wanted it on Instagram, because he wanted to troll the people who are bothered by the fact that he's putting those on Instagram. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah, well, attention whore is the sort of a handle that people have applied to him, and until he disproves it, we can keep calling him that, because that's clearly what it is. Look at me, no matter what the circumstance is. So, show us you're a team guy, show us you're a hard worker, show us you're dedicated to being an NFL quarterback, then we'll start buying it.
And unlike everybody else, I want to quickly move on past him, because he's going to do whatever. And all he's doing to me is figuring out whether the Browns are even going to monkey around with bringing him further. Like, that's all he's doing here is proving whether or not he gets an opportunity to come forward, or whether they cash in. Because I do believe that the Browns they're going to set their example with Josh Gordon. Johnny Manziel can be example 1B. We'll try to keep him and get something out of him, but if he pushes us too far, then we'll take care of whatever we've got to with him. I think they hope that they can nip his problems in the bud and keep him going, but I don't think that they're holding out hope for it necessarily anymore. I've actually talked to some people who say the Browns have already been on the phone with several teams as far as Josh Gordon goes, and Ray Farmer wasting no time at all engaging some of the interest that's out there. I absolutely, truly believe that he will, much sooner than later, not be a part of the Browns, and I think that they're hoping that maybe that will be the wake-up for a guy like Manziel. But again, I don't think they're... I was talking to BSK the other day. He's like, J-Rock, I keep saying the same thing, man. If Ray Farmer tells you that he thinks that dude's a good quarterback, he's lying to you. But, he can't come out and say that either. I'm not trying to make absolute statements. I get it that there's a lot of time for that to go. But, at the same time, man, the NFL doesn't wait for anybody either, and the Browns do have to make some decisions. And what were your thoughts, just looking at what Mike Pettin and Ray Farmer said, forget Manziel, about the Browns, and what do you read in between the lines of what they said, how they're going to attack this offseason?
Well, hard to know, other than they're all singing from the same song sheet, at least, and that is very encouraging from Haslam right on down. And the thing that Pettin keeps harping on is, talent is what gets you into this league, and character is what determines how long you stay. That seems to be the overriding theme. That's the message they're trying to get through to a guy like Justin Gilbert, who they clearly consider salvageable, even if the other two knuckleheads are not. And so, I'm just glad that there's some consistent messaging coming from the team, that there's going to be accountability, and that Pettin has done that all through the season. He didn't feel a need to put the eighth player taken in the draft out on the football field if he didn't, just because he was the eighth player taken in the draft. And that is a refreshing change from how things have gone in the past, with a little bit of the inmates running the asylum situation in Cleveland. So that's all refreshing, and like I say, just the fact that we're hearing the same messaging from the owner right on down through the general manager and the head coach.
Yeah, and the fact that the new year flipped and we still have a general manager and a head coach, those were incredibly encouraging signs for me. Like, I saw the calendar, I said 2015, we're not searching for a coach or a general manager. We may be ahead of the curve. And you know what? Something that you and I didn't get to last week. It was right after we got done talking when Ray Farmer said his piece the next day. But I didn't get into this much, but I like it because but it's one of those things that buys you time. One of those statements that buys you time for people to evaluate you. So, of course, you got to keep that in mind. But I like how Ray Farmer talked about the draft, because he was asked on Tuesday about the hits and the misses in the evaluation process and all of that. And he said some really telling stuff to me about how behind the scenes, months ago, without any fanfare, they overhauled their draft process after Ray Farmer's first draft as general manager. He said, hey, sometimes there's things that are in place, the ways that you do things, and it's not until afterwards that you go, wait, no, we can do this better. We can streamline this. And he mentioned specifically that they tweaked a lot of their processes when it comes to the draft. They changed some personnel. They brought in some different people, changed some of the ways they evaluate the different categories that they weight things. And I thought that made a lot of sense. Now, it's easy to chalk it up as, well, he's buying himself time to get another draft to evaluate. And I get that. That's part of your job, too. But a lot of what he said makes sense, because even when you're the general manager, like you just got the job, this is your first draft, and you think you've got all your bases covered. We know doing the show, no matter how much I think I know how to do this show, when I get done, if things went wrong, I look back and go, man, I should have known ahead to fix this problem, or I should have thought ahead to fix that, or whatever, and I could have prevented the issue. I can see realistically a lot of that same thing. You come out of the draft process and Ray Farmer sits down and goes, wait a minute, I did not like this. I don't like that this person answers to this person. I don't like that this report gets ignored and this one. So I'm interested to see how they do, and then of course we've got to wait another season to see how the players then turn out on the field. But I found that interesting that he admitted right off the bat that post-draft they made a lot of changes into how they're going to draft from there on forward.
That is interesting, and at least it shows you that he has the capacity for some introspection and some, self-criticism. And maybe that's, born of a felt need on his part to justify or to account for the fact that he had the fourth pick in the draft, and first round picks, and really he went through the whole season with returning a 4-12 team without getting contributions from either of his first round draft choices. So I'm sure there was a little bit of a need on his part to account for that, and maybe even from Jimmy Haslam to say, hey, we got to. We've got to reevaluate what we did here, because we didn't hit on either of our first two picks. Maybe premature to say that about Gilbert. I hope that it's premature to say that about Gilbert. But at least you've got a guy in there who's got some humility and got some capability to evaluate himself and to critique things that he was responsible for, instead of just pointing fingers at others.
Yeah, as I said, it's all part of buying yourself time and stuff. I get that. But if that's the case, again, it was his first draft. It made sense to me as not just being, hey, I'm just, giving you some stuff to talk about. And it'll be interesting to see, because really, and again, I go back to, this is why it's hard to evaluate him early on, because you've got the question marks in the first round. Because if those first round picks, even if one of them pans out, and I'm probably referring to the earlier one than the later one, but if just one of them pans out, you look at his draft this year a bit differently, because you go, man, because he did nail some of the other guys, and the undrafted guys, you get the top ones right, all of a sudden people are going, hey, this guy's got something going. Either way, I do like some of the gems that they turned out, and I'll be interested to see, because this one's big, just as big as the last one, because now you've got a base, and you're adding to that base, but you've got, again, 10 picks, multiple first-round picks, multiple early picks. I think they've got, a half a dozen in the first half or early 4 rounds of the draft or whatnot. So, I mean, the opportunity's there to take a quantum leap forward depth and talent-wise if you're able to nail this draft.
Yeah, no doubt. My new, favorite son, my new guy that I'm looking for and I'm hoping to see in an orange helmet is Max Williams. Did you happen to see the Minnesota-Missouri game? Did you see the play that Max Williams made, the tight end, where he hurdles two guys going down the left sideline for the touchdown? I thought that was the play of the entire day in the bowl games, and I just love Max Williams. The Browns, to me, desperately need, even if they sign Cameron Jordan, needed to draft at the tight end position.
Yeah.
And they need a big blocker type guy, less of a downfield threat maybe, and more of an inline guy and a pass catcher. I just love Max Williams from Minnesota. You can see drift in him in even a third or maybe fourth round kind of an area. But he's my new guy that I'm waving the flag for the Cleveland Browns. But yeah, you're right. It's a very important draft, and of course we're looking at still trying to find that quarterback of the future, because he's nowhere to be found on the roster. And but I think a lot will depend on when and where they look at quarterback, whether or not and they're successful in in signing Brian Hoyer to a new deal. I think they have to negotiate in good faith with them, just based on the absence of anyone else that's credible to take snaps in September next year. But the fact that we're still looking for that guy, that 23rd guy, to play the position has to affect their draft thinking. Although I've said it before, with 2 first-round picks, I don't think you can afford to miss again at QB, and maybe you have to wait till after those first 2 picks before you address the quarterback position.
Right, absolutely. I mean, it's only January 2nd, man. We got plenty of time to talk about the draft. You're sucking me into it because I was just about to go, well, yeah, I like this guy, and I'm like, no, we're not doing that just yet. The Buckeyes have to win.
Too soon for that.
Yes, yeah. Too soon. The Buckeyes have to win a national title, and people have got to start packing up trucks for spring training before I can really, truly start getting into looking at the draft, man. We're not there just yet, but I'm with you, and you're right, man. I think tight end is clearly a position that you need to address. Obviously, wide receiver. A lot of people point at the guy we saw last night, even though Ohio State did a good job of keeping 2 men on Amari Cooper. They did a good job of taking him out of the game plan for what he can do. We know he had, 110-plus catches this season, but Buckeyes did a good job of taking him out of the game, which to me always, and I know this sounds silly because I like Sammy Watkins last year, but it's where you have to be careful when you take those early pick wide receivers, because even the best can always be game planned out of a game if a team goes out of their way to take them out.
Yeah, that's true. It seems like when you've got those real early picks, and we don't have those this year. We're drafted 12.
No, what, 14 and 19?
And we got no chance of sniffing Amari Cooper at number 12.
12.
I'm just hoping they draft smartly and draft some size at the position. I think the Smurfs experiment this year, worked as well as could be expected with Gabriel and Hawkins, but and Benjamin. But I think you've got to get some size at the position. That's where you need to be, and hopefully they can address that somewhere down the line. But no chance you look at Amari Cooper in a Cleveland uniform, not drafting 12.
No.
A guy like Michael Thomas, would look good. I'm trying to think. I think Thomas, he's got another year at Ohio State. But even a Devin Smith, if you look at a guy like that, in a later round, maybe you get lucky. Somehow, good programs like the Steelers find great wide receiver gems, and they don't even need to use their first or second round picks to get them. Antonio Brown, Mike Wallace, et cetera, et cetera.
I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you. Stop. We're talking college players and Browns and draft. Stop it. Dan Wismar from the Cleveland Fan. The only college players that we're going to talk about for the next 10 days are Buckeyes and Ducks. That's it. Bucks and Ducks. That's all we're talking about.
Bucks and Ducks a week from Monday. Cannot wait.
You know what?
That's
like a marketing thing. You'd almost think that this thing was set up or something. I don't know, man. These things work out well for the NCAA sometimes and for them groups. Anyways, Dan Wismar, great time catching up with you. I'm glad we aren't talking about the last Buckeyes game of the season. Instead, we got the biggest one still to come. So next week, we'll start looking into the national championship game.
Great, Jerry. Talk to you Monday. Thanks a lot for having me.
Thanks for being here. My man, Dan Wismar, a special Friday appearance from him. Dan writes for the Cleveland Fan, and he's here every Monday and Wednesday live on the Sports Fix. He'll be here Monday. We'll talk about the first round of the NFL playoffs getting going, and we'll start looking at the Buckeyes and the Oregon Ducks in the national title game. That's Monday. We've got to get there. We got to look ahead to those games. Let's flip the script. Since we're talking a little NFL football, let's stay right there. Take a break. Get you some news as we're rolling into hour 2 of the Sports Fix here. When we come back, Jeff Gorman from Browns101.com. He's with us during the football season. He gives you a scouting report on the Browns' opponent each week. We break down the game. This week, Browns aren't playing, but a lot of teams are. It's my favorite weekend of the year. Actually, the first 2 weekends of NFL playoffs, because you've got those 4-game slates. We've got Wild Card Weekend coming up here. Talk about it, preview it, and set it up. We'll give you some picks and some prognostications. Jeff Gorman from Browns101.com joins us next to preview NFL Wild Card Weekend. Coming up next after the news here on the Sports Fix.
The Sports Fix, your choice for intelligent talk.
That was wonderful.
Bravo!
I loved that.
Oh, it was great.
Intelligent talk.
Well, it was pretty good.
Well, it wasn't bad.
Well, there were parts of it that weren't very good,
It
though.
could have been a lot better.
I didn't really like it.
These guys must be on the wrong station.